It's almost panto season. But, okay, well, I was asked to come and speak about what the government is doing in the housing bill, which, to my mind, hasn't received enough attention in the press that it should have done. And I think people really need to be aware of what's coming, because it is packed full of things which, when the Tories announced them in their election manifesto, everyone thought they were just there so they could trade them away in a coalition negotiation. No one thought any of these things were actually going to happen. And now they've already been voted on once by the House of Commons, and Conservatives voted it through. It's now going through committee, and there's a lot of work being done to try and stop it or temper it, but the expectation is that all of these things will happen if the Tories get their way. Now, the first thing they're doing, which sounds like good news, but it isn't, is that they've announced they're going to cut rents for council tenants and housing association tenants by 1% every year for the next 4 years. And the only reason they're doing that isn't from the goodness of their hearts. They're doing it because they see it as a way to try and cut housing benefit. It's a completely wrong way to go about that, because what that means is, for Lambeth, that takes £30 million out of our housing budget in the next 4 years. That's £30 million that could have gone on refurbishment works, it's £30 million that could have gone on repairs, it's £30 million that could have gone on supporting people who are having benefits taken away from them and who are falling into arrears. And for housing associations, what it's meant is an awful lot of them had big plans to build more affordable homes, and that rent cut means they can't afford the debt that they were taking out to pay for them. So you'll have seen that while George Osborne the other day was talking about how many hundreds of thousands of homes they were going to build, you actually look in the small print of what the government put out, and the number of homes that housing associations are going to build is going to fall by 34,000 because of this. And it's one of those things where they've put it out there as a good news story, but it's actually going to hit people who are existing tenants hard, because it's going to reduce the money available for repairs and refurbishment, and it's going to mean a longer wait on the waiting list for people who want new homes to be built. Now, at the same time as they're reducing rents overall to try and cut that bill, what they've also said is they're introducing something that they call pay to stay. This is where they say that any working household in a council property or a housing association property, if the total income of everyone that works in that house, and it's not clear yet because the government's left it vague whether they're going to include benefits and tax credits in those calculations, but if the total income of that household is £40,000 or more, which is just 2 people on the London living wage, so it could be 2 cleaners from the town hall, then they have to pay a new tax. And that tax will be the difference between their council rent and the full market rent for that property. Now, in parts of the country, in the East Midlands, in the north, the Tories probably see this as a way to push people into right to buy. That's not going to be possible for a lot of council tenants in London, particularly not in Lambeth. And what it means is, in Brixton, in a 2-bedroom council flat, for SW2, that means a bill over the course of the year of £14,000 that has to be paid to the Treasury. And it is either going to be a choice for people in those situations to either have to give up their jobs, and these are the people the Tories say are doing the right thing by what the Tories say, or they're going to find themselves in huge arrears, not to the council, but to the Treasury. And it's not clear what that implication is, but it means people choosing between their job and their home. And Brixton's not the worst hit. If you go up to Waterloo, and I was there the other day talking to a group of housing co-ops, people in a 2-bedroom flat, they will have to pay £26,000 to stay in that home. Now, the post-tax income for 2 people on £20,000 each is £33,000. If they've got to pay a tax of £26,000, that doesn't leave them any money for rent, food, water, anything else. I mean, this is an absolutely devastating policy for people who are already council tenants, and it's coming down the line. The next thing in the bill is the government is abolishing Section 106 affordable housing as we know it. Now, the council, through negotiations with developers when they come in, and it's not an acceptable position at the moment when we have to go through viability tests, but we have to deal with what we have, we are able to secure homes, either council homes or housing association homes at social rent or affordable rent for local families. And in the last 5 years, we've got 2,500 homes in Lambeth out of that process. The government's changing that to say that we will not be allowed to insist on that. The council will lose the right to ask for that, and legally we will not be allowed to grant planning permission unless we give permission for what they're calling starter homes. These are homes for sale, worth up to £450,000. You have to be a first-time buyer under the age of 40. Now, if you're a first-time buyer under the age of 40 and you can afford £450,000, you are not the sort of person who the government should be targeting their money towards. And the other thing is that after 5 years, you can sell that house at its full market value. These aren't homes that stay below the market value forever. They're not homes which are in any definition affordable in the long term. They become full market price. So whatever the government is saying, we lose that, and we will start seeing, instead of big blocks on the river for homes being sold to Chinese investors, where at the moment we're getting council homes out of those, we now won't get any. So we suddenly see private developers stop building affordable homes, housing associations are stopping building affordable homes because they can't afford it because of the rent cut. We're also seeing the government's brought in the right to buy for housing associations, and from midnight on Thursday morning, that started in Lambeth for L&Q, which is a housing association. It's been brought in Lambeth. The way the government is paying for the discount of £100,000 on each property is by forcing councils to sell council homes when a family moves out. So instead of offering it to a new family from the waiting list, the government will force us to sell it. We think every year Lambeth will be forced to sell 120 council homes to pay for housing associations. Thank you. Other London boroughs where values are much higher, Camden, for example, thinks they'll have to sell 400 homes a year. And the worst part of this is the government says in the bill that they will just tell us at the start of the year how many homes they think we should sell, and they can basically pick any number out of the air. That's what the bill says at the moment. So we will find housing association homes being sold off, new housing association homes not being built, existing council homes being forced to be sold off on the open market to the highest bidder, and private developers legally let off the hook from providing any genuinely affordable homes. What that means for us as a borough, we already have 21,000 people on the council's waiting list. There's already over 1,800 families who are homeless and in temporary accommodation. In those 1,800 families, there are 5,000 children in Lambeth who are now homeless and in temporary accommodation. And the waiting time for people in high priority at the moment is anywhere between 5 to 8 years. We have families who are overcrowded with disabled children who wait years to find somewhere to live. That is going to mean much longer waiting times for them over the next few years. And so that really pushes us as a council, excuse me, because we are then going to be left, if we want to see genuinely affordable homes built in the borough, if we want to see council rent homes, which I do, built in the borough, then it means that the only people left able to build them and who will want to build them is us as a council. And that is where we get a lot of those problems and controversy and issues around actually building them, because if you look at the land we have, last sentence I promise, if you look at the land we have, we're not an out of London borough, we don't have lots of space in which to build. It does mean talking about increasing the number of homes on the land that we already have, and importantly for us, increasing the number of genuinely affordable homes. I'll leave it there. Thank you.